Okay. Okay, now do you have to take it back? Can you take it back?
You got it. No, you got it. You're on. You're recording right now.
No, I'm talking about you still have control.
Yeah, because I gave you the control to record. So, okay. We ready to let people in?
Mm-hmm.
Ding dong.
So tell me when you can hear someone.
Good morning. Hi.
Hello, everyone. I've given Katie control today because this is my first pitch into Zoom. So please be patient with us.
Can you see everybody on?
No.
Okay. Go on to the top in the black box. You should see hover in the top right hand corner. It should say view. Click on
Yes.
Click on the word view.
Uh-huh.
Gallery.
There we are. Ah, hi, everyone.
Hello.
All right. I'm very grateful that you've come today to allow me to share with you the beginnings of understanding psychic development. And I'm going to start in ways that are a bit different from years ago when I first started to teach. I'd like to just explain that a little. Back when I was a young woman, the idea was you have to go to heaven and you have to get the energy of the oneness from heaven to come into your consciousness to allow you to connect to loved ones on the other side who are dead and waiting eagerly to tell you that they're in the spirit world and they're very happy. And that was the main way of teaching people that we had a psychic sense of our abilities. But today we've evolved. We've come a long way from those ideas. And now we understand so much more about science and the universe and the cosmos and all these things. So over the years, as I was teaching the psychic ability, my spirit guides were showing me more and more about the energy of the oneness. So I'm going to take you to that point for a minute and have you realize that when you've been saying, how about my past life 200 years ago? I'm going to say to you right up front, how about your past lives 300,000 years ago? Okay, because we've come to realize that we are way, way older than we've ever believed before. We've come to realize that we are genetically engineered. We've come to realize that there are aliens, whether we like it or not, who come and visit this planet. We've come to realize that some of us have been aliens on other planets, and there's lots of videos and things you can see about that. But for me as a teacher, I was already downloading all of this during the time that people were still saying, I want to know about heaven and Jesus and Buddha and so on. So I was doing that publicly, but for myself, I was listening to angels and people like that who were telling me that I basically was an ascended master. And that's like, what the hell is an ascended master? Didn't mean much to me at all. And but slowly over time, I began to realize what they were really saying is that we've been in so many different dynamic forms, in so many different planets, and so many different places, doing so many different things, that if we were allowed to remember all of that, we'd be crazy. Because here on Earth, we're very limited and restricted by our perceptions. And the perceptions are, of course, very physical, and I'll go into those in a while. So when I talk about your psychic, bringing that down to us in the body, every time we think about who am I, where did I come from, we've got this instinct feeling that says, I'm old, I've been here, maybe I lived on Mars, or maybe I was on Syria, you know, or whatever it is, Sirius, the planet up there, which is long dead, and we were. But what good would it be for us to remember living, say, in a different body, in a different place, with no perceptions of an earthly way? It wouldn't fit. We'd get crazy trying. It's like saying you've got 49 jigsaw puzzles and they're all muddled up, and you're trying to find which piece goes with which piece. You would go crazy, and it would take eons of time just to figure out one puzzle, never mind all of them. Okay, so when people say, you know, I was on Mars or I was somewhere else, it might seem important, but the truth is, all you're trying to tell yourself is, I've got much more inside me than I understand. So when we talk about our spirit self, we're really talking about a very refined being, someone who has had so many different experiences in different ways for different purposes. And when we think about where do we go, where do we return, we can now think of analogies like so many stars out there. And if we think about that many stars, we can't count them. We just don't know how many there are. But we can say there's umpteen is a word that we have here. But would that mean anything if I was on Sirius and I was there in the Syrian form? Well, I might not even have that word. It wouldn't really make much sense to me. So I want you, throughout your growth with your psyche, to try and stay in realism of this world, because you will do yourself the best favor you can to deal with everything that goes on in your life. So yeah, maybe you might recall that you've had some past lives, but it's not about how you behaved. It's not about whether you left a mark in the world and, you know, were a Jesus figure or some slave who taught and suffered something. It's about, I existed here. I have genetic memory of this world, and I'm a part of this world. And right now, people are even remembering that something that I was talking about in my teenage years when I learned about dinosaurs, because you've got to remember, they didn't start finding dinosaur bones until the 50s. There were a few people who found it in the 40s, 30s, but with wars going on, kind of got lost. But when they started talking about dinosaur bones, I was already telling my parents that I thought I was riding one. And now they're beginning to find human footprints beside these giant dinosaur footprints, now in limestone, solid, of course, showing that they were working. Humans were alive while the dinosaurs were around. So that gives us an idea, millions of years old here. So that opens up your mind just now by my mentioning this, that you, each of you, spirit energy is millions of years old. That's mind-blowing, because we can't understand millions of years. We're brought up to think, oh, 50 years is a long time ago. Okay, or if we get to be my age at 79, well, hey, 79 years is a long time. But spiritually, we know if we look after our bodies and if we do the right things for ourselves, so we keep healthy and we work with our brain and emotions in harmony, we can live a lot longer. Okay, and there are people today who are 115 years old and they're compass mentis. They know what they're saying. They're not doolally. They haven't lost their brains. So it's very important to understand why you are, who you are, and how you work. So let's come down into the everyday form. You're a spirit entity, and you're in a congregation of many other spirits, thousands and thousands of them, just to put it in a way that you can understand. It's actually many more, but we're staying a small number. And those thousands and thousands all congregate to say, this is a time of change and transformation for us in the spirit sense. And we want to go down into embodiment and do our thing individually, but also in many ways by our experiences, spread and share our experiences to become an awakening in some way to this world that we're going to be on and evolve. Now, of course, when I'm doing these psychic classes and go further on and go into ascension and all these things, we'll discuss that. But today I'm asking you to leave that a little bit on the side and just understand that roughly 7 generations have been born before you arrived. And all those people who you are now looking at as ancestors, friends, associates of those ancestors, intermarried other families that came into those people's lives and had an effect on them in some way, just like they do today. They come into our lives, they say something, they do something, and we go, oh, wow, wow, revelation, I'm going to take that news. And then they disappear. They're not here anymore. So we have a lot of strangers that help us along our life pathway. Well, it was no different for 7 generations back. The difference was for you, however, you're watching them. And as you watch them, you're inspiring them and stimulating them from the oneness to help them evolve. So you're not separate, you're part of them. And the oneness is like a sponge. It absorbs all that's going on this planet and squeezes it every so often and makes it all drip. And that's us. We all come down all at the same time because we want to clear up the debris. We want to make a change in this time. We want to evolve and move on. And so when you look back through history of this world, and it's billions of years old, remember that, we've had evolutions of ages, thousands of years of ages. And we try and make sense of those ages from an earthly point of view, but it's almost impossible because it's like dragging a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and trying to make that puzzle mean something to you, and it's guesswork. Now, if you think of that as a cosmic consciousness, and then you bring that down into your mom, your grandma, your great-grandma, your great-great-grandma, and so on going back. And all the peoples that came into their lives with influences and left some mark in their consciousness, in their DNA and their RNA, well, you're complicated. You're already loaded with a lot of information in your brain on a cellular neuromuscular memory level. So when you come into your mother's womb, your spirit energy, which is a cosmic consciousness of divine essence, is going to absorb your mother's life and every emotion, every thought, every insecurity around that, every joy around that, every person they've ever met, any influences of locale, i.e. my generation, we're at war. There's so much that is going on this planet. And right now, for those who are young, we're talking about the viruses, we're talking about the floods, we're talking about famine, we're talking about animals dying. There's just so much going on. And here we can see the end of what was and the beginning of what will become. And so what we have to do in terms of being leaders in this world through our psyche is to acknowledge what was, work with it in ourselves, transform it in a way into the oneness coding that we're entwined with millions of other people on this planet. And we call that instinct, we call that intuition, and for some of us, psychic. So what is the psychic ability? It's basically the essence of the cosmos in every cell in your body. And as I said in the beginning, there's thousands and thousands of us in a consolidated group from the oneness down on earth, just say in one country. And then you think there are how many countries there are all over the world who've got different cultures, different ideas, different religions, different philosophies. And those people who are in the oneness spirit energy, if we put it that way, come into embodiment in all these different countries with their coding of a soul group to affect and make change, not necessarily destructive, but it can be. Because when we let go of the old, we open up to the new. And when we open up to the new, we're kind of like, what, how, when, why, I don't know. Guesswork. But in the process of change, we find our way. And it's that instinct that allows us to understand. One of the things my spirit told me about mushrooms years ago when I was a child is, don't say they're all poisonous. Don't say they're all, don't eat them. They have little tendrils, is the way I saw it, that spread underneath the dirt, and they eat all the decayed leaves and things and feed off that. And they're the gardeners of earth that keep that soil, rejuvenating and regenerating. And in that analogy, they said to me, that's what psychics do. We're the gardeners. We come down, we see the things that aren't working very well. We use our skills, our talents from a spiritual point of view. We have a little influence hither and thither with different people. And in time, those people take that little bit of information and they give it to someone else. And we're sharing. And in the process of sharing, we're evolving. So let's think about you coming into your mother's womb. You know her very well in the spirit world, but you've been watching her going through all sorts of issues, right? And when you come in, you're pure, you're just, I'm light, I'm oneness. And you come into that body, and the first thing you do as a spirit energy is to take on mum's character, personality, her fears, her worries, her anxieties, her losses, her talents, her skills, her interests, her motivations, her drives, her ambition. So you're a miniature mum.
Are you stunned so far by this?
I can hear someone talking, so I don't know what that is when I stop. Sorry about that. As I said, I'm still learning how to use these things. So, okay, now everyone has to come through a mother because men can't carry babies, right? So we are all our miniature mums. And if mum has a need, like in my mum's generation, of, I'm not able to go to work, so I need a man who's going to feed me, clothe me, take care of me, love me, Prince Charming scenario. And hey, presto, out of the blue, a war happens. He's off, gone somewhere else. She's now on her own. My mom had to survive bombs every night. And then she gets pregnant with me. And I'm in there absorbing all of her character, all of her personality, and her fear, pain, anger, and guilt. Every night the bombs are dropping. This might be my last day on earth. And I'm just arriving, knowing my spirit self that she will survive, but sharing in her pain and suffering. Now, I'd like you to just spend a minute and think about your mum and realize just how much you have your mother's character, personality, even if it's a negative one. I had someone with me recently who was very, very negative. The mother was doubly negative and gone. So how can you talk to them? How can you get to know what they're saying? Well, that's where this desire to talk to people in the spirit world comes in, because we want to check, you're gone, you're on the other side. I'm having this thing coming up in me and I need to talk to you. And so we pray and we try and connect with mom on the other side. And maybe we're lucky, maybe we do, or maybe we don't, because maybe we're not meant to check with her. Maybe we're meant to let her go on her way and dump her history. And we're supposed to work about it on here in the spirit world. So how are we going to know our own self? How are we going to know who we are? So back in the spirit world, before we come into embodiment with all these family members and all the people that are a long string of many spirits who are all coming together to make a change in this world. And I will say this goes on constantly. It's an ebb and flow like this all the time. It's not just through 3,500 years of Piscean age to Aquarian age. It's happening every year as well, because new babies are born, people are dying. Babies are born, people are dying. So day in, day out, we are expanding and contracting. Oneness is coming in and leaving. We are finding our way and wondering what we're doing. So why do we do this? Because our spirit, the essence of the oneness, is the core of our being in this body. When we die, the essence of our spirit, the core of the oneness, leaves and joins back to the force of all that is. And we can keep our identity as we are today, or we could flip in and out of other identities we've had in dozens of different places, where the correlation of the influences of those lives on us individually is teaching us something that we can ascend, vibrate into a higher vibration. So what we call this essence is our, you'll find me coughing now and again when I'm teaching, because I'm also dumping my throat chakra on my mother in the womb. So sorry about that. Let me just have a little drink. So when we come into embodiment, our essence is a spirit form, and we take on the form of the ancestors and we generate that energy into the body as it grows. In the first 3 months, the first trimester, our mother is the host of the baby. She's growing. It's a part of her. It's like a leaf on a tree. At 3 months, the quickening happens, and that's when the spirit that is you came into the body. And at that point, when you came into the body, you took on your entire mother's consciousness, her fear, her pain, her anger, her guilt, her happiness, her joy, the talents that I mentioned earlier on. And in doing that, you amalgamate what you had programmed in yourself to bring into this world, into this life. But because you're an infant, and because you're not aware of this world in any sense when you're born, you're like having amnesia. And so what you have to do is to be sensory. And being sensory in the womb means, and now today people actually talk to babies in the womb, you know, daddy and mummy are talking to baby, and baby comes out much more alert and aware. But in my generation, when I was born, nobody was talking to babies in the womb. So we were sleepy babies. You know, we didn't do too much. But now today, when those babies come out, within no time, their eyes are wide open. They're looking at you like this, like they're staring at you. They're paying attention to your facial expressions, and they're feeling you. And feeling you is a very important part of knowing I've arrived. But before you can actually pop out, you've got to wait until mother is ready to deliver you, and you have to wait until you've absorbed everything that mother is. So sometimes babies come in early because they get it all pretty quickly. Others come late because mother's not sharing very well and she's restricted and limited in some way. Some of us come in who are to be adopted because we know this is a vehicle by which we need to start out our lives. But after we've done whatever we've done in arriving in the womb and being set up, as it were, excuse me a minute, after we set up and arrive, we go on to be adopted by someone else or put in a home or whatever it is. It's all set up. People think, okay, you know, it's an accident and it shouldn't have happened. You know, Why did a woman walk down the street and get raped? And why does she have a baby that way? How can we rationalize that that's good? Well, of course, in our everyday judgment self, no, that's not good. That's terrible. But for the spirit, that was a choice of the way I want to enter. That is because then I'll know the suffering right up front of restrictions and limitations, so that as I mature and evolve on earth, I've got a core plan, a stimulation in my conscious brain that will awaken as I get older. Okay, so the thing that I want you to understand is how important your brain is. So let me talk about that just for a minute. At the back here is where your psychic self is, your spirit self is. It's in your deep subconscious back there. Your deep subconscious knows how to stimulate your body to work. In other words, your spirit is programmed by your deep subconscious to come into this body and work this body, make it happen. You bring with you from the oneness your talents and skills. Those talents and skills could be music, could be art, could be anything you can think of that you like to do. And it could be things that you hate to do as well that are back there, but you don't discover it till your hands-on activities occur. Some babies are born and they cry and cry and cry and cry. Why? And it doesn't matter what mom's saying or do, because that baby has come in with a program that is negative. Now you might say, why would a baby be negative? Well, the bottom line is we need positive and negative in order to do the dance of life. And so sometimes the babies that are born into a negative environment end up being great leaders as they find the balance and harmonize with themselves and go on in the world to do something that is going to leave a mark, and the rest of the world will then take that and nurture that, whatever it is they leave, and move on. Others will come in and have, hey, wonderful, happy childhood and everything's marvelous until they get somewhere in their 40s and wham, bam, everything happens that destroys that wonderful world. Could be a flood, could be someone dies, you know, who knows what it is. But the bottom line is it turns their world upside down, and that makes them soul search themselves as to why am I here? What am I doing? What's my purpose? What's my reason? And of course, the rational conscious mind here doesn't know, because all you know here is what you've seen, heard, touched, tasted, and smelt in this world. And we'll talk about those skills in a minute. Now, this part here in the middle of your brain is where you store and do a lot of this energy all the time, backwards and forwards, with images. Images, as we say, have 1,000 words to them. We describe them. You know, I saw an ant and the ant was looking ferocious and I had a nightmare about it and I felt like it was going to sting me to death. What does that mean in a dream? Okay. Sorry, my nose is running after that coughing. And so what happens is we rationalize that I'm afraid of ants on a conscious level here. But they were all crawling all over me. Oh, there's an ant, a real live ant. I'm afraid of it. It might bite me. And you might get a phobia. But your middle brain, the images is saying, now ants are busy bees. In a way, they're like bees. They're always on the go. They're programmed. They know I'm one that goes out and protects the nest. I'm one who goes out and finds the food. I'm one who looks after the ants' eggs and keeps them safe. You know, so we see a structure by the ants. And Socrates, when he first showed me that lesson, I was just a child, amazed me just how culture was in the ant world, and then turned around and said, and we humans are no different. We have our cultures, we have our purpose, we have our focus, and we get stuck in it. And that's all we see. And if you think about ants, if you try and take a soldier ant and make it a father ant to the eggs, what will it do? It will destroy the egg because it's a soldier. That's all it knows, is how to destroy the egg. so they don't mix up. Well, it's the same with us and our psyche. Some of us are here to be healers, and we don't know how to read someone. Some of us are psychics, and we know how to do that, but we don't know how to heal. You know, we find our way. We are trial and effort. We try and understand what it is we're doing and how we're doing it. So your spirit comes into the body. It is pure energy, but it is programmed for you to have your talents, your skills, your hates, your likes, and so on. There's too much to go into in the psychology of this, but I want you to understand you are really very wise baby when you're born, but you just don't know how to talk it yet. You don't know how to process these three parts of the brain. And so it's your growth experience in the first 5 years of your life to understand that you can see, you can hear, you can feel, you can touch, and so on and so forth. Now, what if you were born with eyes that don't work, or deaf, or one of your senses that isn't working? One would say, oh, what a shame, you know, consciously, we'll have to teach this child another way to think and feel and work. Well, that's part of the way of testing self in the oneness. I knew a great young man when he was born blind in England, and he had the healing skills of Jesus. And if he'd have been able to see, he wouldn't have felt these hands so strongly, and he wouldn't have been able to do Psychoderma Therapy. It's something I can do, and it's something I'll teach you one day. But Psychoderma Therapy, basically your fingertips are so sensitive that you can take that energy from someone, pass it along the meridians up into these three parts of your brain, and see and know exactly what's wrong inside the body and fix it by changing the energy. Okay, so there are many therapies, and you'll go into that one day, but come back now to realize you are programmed by your spirit and by a soul group of many, many people like you, who all have a different personality trait, a different ancestor trait from whoever they came down through the line of family members and friends and associates. So we're all exactly the same in terms of a coding to make changes in the world, but we all do it independently and differently. So one of the things that I saw so often in my early years as a medium was everyone was trying to outdo everyone else. I want to be better psychic than you. I want to be a better healer than you. I want to be a musician that's, you know, head of the orchestra or something one day. Aspiring to be something is good, but not to compete, because the minute you start competing, you're destroying your psyche, because your conscious mind is in the way, judging it, condemning it. Okay. How many times have you found yourself saying, oh, I've got a vision. What does it mean? And you come up with an idea, and then someone else comes along and says, really? I'd say it means something else. Well, you can't compare, because your vision is yours and it's not necessarily for someone else. And when I go into all the readings and things that we're going to talk about, I want you to understand there is no right or wrong. It's only a sharing. So you don't have to be super duper person and be the best one that you can be for anyone else. Okay, so let's assume you've had 24 lives somewhere in history where you've been a healer, a medium, a psychic or something, and you're in the spirit world, and there's a whole bunch of all these spiritual entities that saying, yes, it's time for a change, a transition. We're all going to come down and live in different countries, and we're going to do different things at different times. Every single one of those people, if you could bring them all together into one building, billions of them, and say, what do you all agree on? They'd all look at you and go, well, we don't know yet. We haven't talked, we haven't shared. We just feel like, I know you, I've known you all my life, but I don't know what you're doing in this world, because you're brought up by different people from me, with different religions from me, with different ideas from me, and so on. So the only thing we can know for sure is that our spirit is programmed through our ancestors for us individually to find ourselves first. And in the process of finding yourself, to feel good in your skin, to know that whatever you do, no matter if the world judges you and condemns you, you know that you're doing what makes you feel happy, safe, and content. So what is your spirit energy? If you think about rubbing your hands together like this and doing this, you can actually feel the energy. Do you want to try that right now? Rub your hands together and then put them apart. My hands get really hot because I'm used to this and I'm a healer, see? So my hand chakras are open. So just keep rubbing and then hold your hands forward and see if you can feel that tingling from one hand to the other, backwards and forwards. If you can, nod your head. Okay, so Renee's got it. Okay, how are you doing? Ramona, you doing okay? Can feel it? Okay, how about Theo? Can you feel it? Okay, and Ria, you can feel it? And I know Katie can feel it. Okay, good. So you just felt your energy. You just felt your aura. You just felt your psychic spirit self. That's your spirit. You just felt it. Okay, by friction, what you're doing is you're opening up yourself mentally by feeling to say, I'm energy. Now, normally when you're growing up, nobody tells you you're a ball of energy. You're told you're a girl or you're a boy and you're supposed to fit this regime and that, whatever social structure and these religions and so on and so forth. So anytime someone comes up to you and they stand beside you, say in school somewhere, and they go, I'm going to pick on you. I don't like you. I'm going to tag you and push you over and stuff. So I'm sure some of you have gone through that. I know I did. I was always picked on. It's hell because you're just standing there and you're thinking, I'm just being me and I just want to make friends. And all these people suddenly don't like me and they're pushing away. They're feeling your energy. And your energy is radiating all around you, and we call this your aura. Now, what is your aura? It is basically the emanation of your motor neurons in your body working. So if you are a healer and you're thinking about those kinds of things, you have to learn to realize that, for example, the liver, we just shortly mentioned few things here. The liver has 21 jobs to do. When I was nursing, they said it was 7. So just see how much science has gone into understanding how involved a biogenetic person we are. So just think of this liver working away, 21 jobs it's doing, and it's working as hard as it can. And what's it doing? It's like your car running on gas. It's making energy, okay? Now, if you're out of balance and you're not well, and someone comes and stands next to you, and let's say they're not doing this like you are because you're doing this, and you're all over the place, and they're like this, you're affecting them, and they don't like it because you're throwing them off balance with your energy of your wrongly working liver. But you don't even know that, because you don't put your brain inside your body and listen to the sound of your liver and ask yourself, how's it working? Okay, you assume it's all working very well inside, just like you get in your car and you just assume it's going to drive and you're going to get to point A. But what happens when you come out in one morning and you get in your car and the battery's dead? You can't go anywhere. You still got a car. So in the same way, if your liver is tired and worn out, you can't get anywhere, you can't do anything. So every part of your body is working, hopefully productively, is generating this energy, which is coming out of your body and stands about anywhere from 6, depends how weak you are, from 6 inches to 2 feet from your physical body. And that's the emanation of your physical body. Now, while you're going about your business, you're thinking I know how to drive my car. Oh, goodness gracious, I'm being polite here. We probably use much worse words. So-and-so's done such and such, and I'm in the mood. Okay. And so the next thing you know, you're rationalizing your thoughts and feelings, and you're working yourself out into a tiswats. You could be angry, you could be crying, you could, or, maybe you're elated because you've just found out that you've won $1,000, okay? But the person standing next to you, they're still miserable with the fact they've only got $10. And so your aura is invading theirs with, I'm happy. And they're sitting there going, oh God, I can't handle this happy energy. It can be the other way around. You're very miserable and you're generating that misery, and the person next to you is happy, and suddenly they're cringing because they don't feel happy anymore. So we're affecting one another all the time by the way we feel and the way we rationalize what we think. So that's two parts of your aura. Now, you've got your spirit, the spirit that came into your baby, that is programmed with your purpose, your reason to be here. And every time your physical and your etheric body, which is your way of thinking and feeling, gets in conflict, your spirit has to work to put it all back together, like climbing a mountain. Hard work. Okay, and we get tired and we feel like we need to sleep, and we go to sleep and we dream, don't we? And we dream these fantasy dreams, and we think I'm flying and I'm rising above my pains and suffering, and we wake up in the morning, we feel good. Or with the opposite, we go into it and we analyze it in the dreams, and we have all these symbols. Remember, pictures 1,000 words. So let's make up one. We're in a dark passage, and there's some weird thing that keeps touching us, and we can't see it, and we're cringing, and we're trying somehow to get through this passage, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it seems like as fast as I run towards it, the light gets further and further. Very common dream, that one. Okay. That's a way of telling ourselves we're stuck in a rut and we're listening to the negativity while we should be letting go of that and flying. Yeah, you've got a hand up, Katie. You want to ask a question? Hi, yeah.
Yeah, so about dreams, so there's dreams I get, where I do have, a lot of dark dreams, and I have a lot of good dreams. Now, some of the dark dreams, I'm being attacked by some entities. And I noticed in those dreams, I have psychic, telekinesis kind of stuff going on. I'll be using my hands to control things and things like that. And so I'm wondering what does that all signify mostly?
Well, first of all, I have to read you a little bit here.
Right.
You are intuitive in that you are psychic in that sense. And one of the things that we do when we're in the early stages of evolving because you've not really had training. So if you had training, you might bypass this state. But people who are not, with someone who's helping them, what we find is that you go into fighting off what we call earthbounds. I didn't want to go there yet, but earthbound spirits are people who pass on and they come out of body, like car accident, or maybe they're on drugs, or maybe they were just old and they had Alzheimer's and they're still wandering around trying to find their house. Okay. And so it's not unusual for psychics who are subliminally not evolved here in the consciousness, but who are spiritually back here, very aware, to do rescue work. And it'll be done while you're in the subliminal state, which is dreaming and sleeping, so that you can clear anyone that would be sucking off you. Now, let's say you are negative yourself.
Right.
And you're worried about your money and stuff, which you do, then that's a negative energy, and the laws of karma of like attracts like in the mirror image. So you'll attract someone who's also worried and insecure, who's earthbound. And so when the two of you come together, that's a lesson for you. Don't be negative. And it's also an opportunity for your higher spirit guides and ascended self to learn the lesson to ascend someone into the spirit world, which is where they're thinking at that time. And by the way, when we come out of body, our body is a perfect copy of how we look. So, you know, you would be slim and handsome and tall and gorgeous according to what you want to be. And I might be old and like a crone if I wanted to be. It's not about how beautiful you are. It's about how you want to appear as a spirit entity. And so spirit guides, I'm diverting here a bit, but it's essential to know this. Spirit guides can appear as a Native American, a Black person, a mouse, an elephant, you know, and they can be anything, because in the eons of time of the evolvement of all of us as entities, we have been animals, we have been ants. So, you know, anything that we know that exists on this planet, we have been. And then of course now we're evolving, where we start saying, well, I think I was on Sirius, or I was in you know, Atlantis or something. So we're all looking at a greater understanding of our beings, whereas 100 years ago people just thought of church, and I'm talking England right now, and going, or the synagogue, and you know, going and praying and our fathers and Hail Marys and I'm a sinner and whatever. And we've gone through that, and we've realized we're not. We're much more. We're greater entities that exist. So does that answer your question enough for you for now?
Oh yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
All right. So anyone who wants to interrupt, just let me know. I should have said that in the beginning, because I know you have questions, but I get the spirit in my head and I just keep going. So interrupt me. So we're coming back to, I'm going to come back to your spirit. You're in the baby's body. You're growing up. You're tapping into, through your spirit, your ancestors, because your spirits watched them all while you were not yet in the womb. And so now you're down here bringing that out in you. So let's say you had a great-great-grandpa who was a musician, and nobody in your family since then has touched anything. And then suddenly you're born, and out of the blue, you just know how to play the piano or something, and you're writing music, and everybody's going, oh, you must be a messiah figure or something. Well, no, it's a tool that you planned, that you wanted to use, so that you could evolve yourself in some way to go on to do something else. And some of these tools are talents and skills that we use throughout our lives. And other people are going, well, why don't I have that skill or that talent? Well, the bottom line is we all had all the same skills and talents. We would sure not appreciate it, and we would take it for granted, and we wouldn't follow suit and aspire to do something. So we're all models to one another in different ways. And that is very much a part of ascension. And by the way, if you really want to read about the dark side and the light side, I have 2 books that Katie's put out for me over the last year. The dark side is all about the negativity and the experiences here on earth and what we do. And the light side is all about the ascension. So we go up and down like this all the time. We're never still. We don't just aspire to get to the top and sit there. Those at the top have to come back down. We're at the bottom, we have to come up. So there's this constant moving, and at times we meet spirit guides and different entities and earthbounds, like Theo was saying. And so, you know, these are all parts of our experiences in developing our psychic ability. And whether we do it through the brain, in dreams, or consciously, or focus on a tarot card, or whatever it is, you're looking for a way to make sense for your spirit self to be able to lift you out of the dark into the light. So let's come into, you've gone through mom and dad and granny and grandpa, or you've gone through adoption, or whatever your story is. If you want to know more about the soul and the coding, I'm not doing this to pitch, but I'm just saying I can't teach you everything in an hour. There's the Rejection Syndrome, which is another book I wrote, but it's full of stories of people who are coded, so you can get the idea how you're coded. And then when I do a soul coding for you, a reading, then you'll understand it, which is much easier to understand rather than show you. Thank you. The rejection syndrome. Okay. So we're coming now into your encoded by your spirit. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Renee, you want to ask a question?
Yes, I just had a question. In that coding,
Mm.
is that forever? Can that coding be changed or enhanced, or is that just something that we are stuck with throughout this
Yeah.
lifetime?
I understand that too. I want to say that the coding is primary. It's fixed in each life, but life after life, your coding would be different. You choose according to where you are, what you want to do, and who you want to be. So, for example, if you're a woman, that's going to have a different coding from a man. You know, just think about that on a very everyday basic thing. But now look what we've got. We've got gay people. I hate that word, but we are all male and female, you know, and so we, you know, why do we have to dress up if we're a man in a frock just to tell people we got femininity in us, or vice versa? You know, I can tell you that when I was in a nightclub, I was modeling in those days, and I met Princess Margaret there. It was a gay club, and I had no idea. I was that ignorant in those days because you didn't talk about it. And I go in there, and there's these young women with stiff collars and a suit on with an older woman. And I'm sitting there looking, and I'm thinking, that looks ridiculous. Why are they doing that? Why don't they just hold hands and say, I love you today? You know, even back then, I knew those things. But you see, they were making a statement in those days. They had to dress up like that in order to make people aware that we are feminine and masculine. We are both. And then we finally got there. And guess what? Everybody rushed out, gay people, to get married. And guess what? They're all getting divorced. Why? Because they're no different from a straight, whatever you want to call them, heterosexual, because we all have our own coding. And no one person can fill another person up with all the joys and pleasures we're seeking. We have to fill ourselves up with it. So coming back to our coding from the soul structure, can't go into it all now, it's much too much, but we can do another class on that in the future. But there are, as we said, the rejection syndrome, I've given you that you can get that, and you can read that, and then you'll understand more about it. So life after life, we change our soul coding, we change the family, we change our friends. We might say, have a whole bunch of friends that we knew 2,000 years ago turn up in this life. And we just, oh, I kind of know you, but hey, I don't know you from 2,000 years ago because life is different then, and it doesn't fit in with today's culture. So it's an unknown. We just feel a love for you, and I just have to be with you. And then we find out that whatever we're doing this time integrates somehow. And then we outgrow one another, and we move on, and we find someone else, you know. So we're never stuck with the same people over and over again. We need change, and we need to be ascending and descending. So even in a day, you can be happy and miserable. You can be safe and unsafe. You can like and dislike. Every day you are up and down, you are yo-yoing. And every day that you yo-yo, other people around you are yo-yoing. And that causes friction. And friction functions in your aura. So you're standing next to someone, I just feel I've known you forever, and I want to be with you. And 4 weeks later, I can't stand you. I don't want to be with you anymore, because we got that energy, we got that stimulant, we got that negative lesson or that positive one, and then we move on. So we can't blame them for just standing next to us and giving us a dose of their aura. They might not even know they're giving you a dose of their aura because they're not even open to their psyche. Okay, but healers are. And I can tell you because I was healing since I was a babe, I would go to the movies with my mom, and my mom she was crippled, so we had to sit somewhere where stairs weren't negotiated, you know. And while she's busy looking for the seat that was convenient for her, I'm busy looking for the seat where I'm not going to be sitting next to someone who needs healing because I want to watch the movie. So you see what I'm saying? So we all have to have space. We need that space so we can process and regenerate and think about who we are and what we've gone through for today. So I like to get in bed at night and just lay there and just let go of the day and anything. And then you go into dreams, and the first dreams you dream are dumping dreams, because I've already done that 400 billion times. I know that, so I don't need to worry about that. Then in the middle of the night, you dream a prophecy dream of what you want to do next week, next year, sometime soon or later. And then in the morning, you dream the dumping dreams. So like someone said to me, I had a plane crash and I thought I was going to die, and I am taking a real plane and I'm worried I will die. And I said, no, what you're saying is you're ending a relationship. It's the end. You crashed. And now you're going on a holiday. Go enjoy yourself, have some fun. And she went on her holiday and she came back. She said, I met a lover. So, you know, that was her telling herself, I give myself permission to leave my ex and move on with someone else. So you have to learn to interpret your visions and your head and the things that you've got, because someone else could interpret it as I did, but I wasn't giving her all the details. She had to find that when she found that person. It comes with meeting people. Okay, so coming back to the aura, we've gone through the physical, the etheric, and the spirit body. Now, there's another thing, universal consciousness, divine wisdom, that's in your aura. How do you think you suddenly know that somebody shouldn't drive a car on Friday because it's going to be a car accident, and you warn them and they don't listen, and they go out and they drive the car and they come home in the evening, go, I just had a car accident, it's going to cost $5,000 to fix it, they have no insurance, and da, 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 da. Well, in the universal consciousness, everything is now, and we can tap into that, and we can see now, and we can see it as now, and we can worry about it as now. But for us in our time, it might not happen for 20 years. And that's the enigma, because we have days, months, years. I've got writings that I did in 1970s and 80s about Iraq and Iran and all the Middle East stuff. And it's all come to pass. But look how long it took for that to come true. Many, many years. Okay. So the higher mind body comes into our aura and gives us data. And how we use that data is integrated with our spirit, our etheric everyday self, emotions and mind, and our body practical, where we go and what we do. Okay, so those four bodies are constantly working. The last body in your aura is your soul body. Now, I said to you right in the beginning, you are a collective part of a universal soul group, and that soul group has a program. Now, I can't obviously explain what a soul program is because they don't think of it in words. It's divine love or divine wisdom. And so that energy comes down into you, rejuvenating you mentally and emotionally all the time. It's a stream of constant energy. You don't send it back because it is not needing to be sent back, because it comes through your physical, etheric, spirit, higher mind back. Okay, so when it gets it up there, the soul cleans it and then sends it back down. So we're constantly giving and receiving, giving and receiving. So that's your aura. How do these auras stay together? You have chakras. Very briefly, I'm hoping you know what chakras are. You have a crown chakra that connects with your private parts, your base chakra, and those come together and cross over. So your wisdom comes down into your base, and your ups and downs, fear of pain, goes up to your crown, where you're saying, I'm looking for answers. You're sorting, you're searching. And stuck in the middle is your heart and your solar plexus. So if you're negative, you get the collywobbles in your solar plexus. Your heart feels like, oh, and poor me and miserable. When you're in harmony with those two, you feel good. Throat is outside of that because you talk all the time. Your third eye, I see, I talk, I see, I talk. Okay. And whatever you're doing, that's your engine going on in your brain and in your throat, making you feel and think down in your belly. Now, what's going to sort it all out? You have a spleen chakra that runs left rear to right front. I'm going to stand up for a minute so you can see where it is. Left, right. And it runs through the body at a diagonal. And look what's here. It's this wide. Is your liver, your spleen, your pancreas, and not in the right order I'm saying it, your bowels, your lungs, your kidneys, your engine. The spleen chakra is your engine. It keeps it all working. It's very important. And so healers, they think about that. But if they haven't been taught about that, then they just think solar plexus. But you've got to clean out the spleen chakra every so often. It's like cleaning out the oil in the car. If you don't change the oil, your car's going to run down. So if you're overweight or you're too thin or you're not eating the right foods or whatever you're doing, think about this area, because this is the busy bee area physically. It's all trying to keep you alive, keep you healthy. And then you've got all the emotions attached to living your life and doing whatever you do, whether you're working out or whatever you're doing in your life. It's got to be pleasure. And if you're slaving away and worried and anxious and whatever, this spleen chakra is having a real hard time balancing those energies of the 5 bodies. So that's your aura, that's your chakras. Now, coming into all of that is your psychic ability. Your psychic ability is divided into the physicality. So the first one we talk about that I've already kind of mentioned in energy source is psychometry. Psychometry is the feeling of the energies around you. Now, whether you're feeling your own energy, so let's all just do this. Put your hands around you and see if you can find your hands tingling all over your body right now. And hopefully you will be, because I've been opening you up just by talking about everything. I can even put my hands way out here and feel me, because I'm used to doing it. See how far you can go away from your body and still feel your hands tingling. You don't have to use both. You could just use one, because your hands are very sensitive. Look at mine, very red, see? Okay, so can you feel it? Don't your head if you can. Yeah, can you feel it? So you are a living, walking energy field. I want you to think of that, okay? And wherever you go, walking down the street, you may pass 49 billion people in a rush hour. You're affecting them. They're affecting you as they pass by. You're getting a dose of their energy. They're getting a dose of your energy, okay? I always tell my students, when you go to the mall, close down. I'll tell you that at the end, closing down your chakras. Right now, I don't want you to close down because you're listening to me, okay? All right. So psychometry is when you feel something. Now, if I was to hold this mouse and put my hand over it, I could feel the battery, okay? Or if I hold my phone, that phone, because we know it's constantly doing something in there, is affecting my aura. I'm always putting it down because I don't want it to affect my aura. And then where did I put it? So I have to walk around the house feeling for it. And I do that because when my husband was alive, we could call one another's phones. It was easy. But now I just put it down and where did I put it? I don't know. So I walk around. Is it in this room? I'm feeling it. Okay. So, you know, where did I learn that? Well, my grandpa was a dowser. And he's a very famous man, actually. And he even found graves with Carter, you know, the pyramids and all that stuff. So I had a lot of that in my genes and my background. And so he taught me to dowse. So I can go into any room, depending on what I'm looking for. I think it, I know it, and is it in this room? No. Is it in this room? Yeah. Okay. Is it over here? No. Is it over there? Yes. I'm looking for my phone that way. Okay. You think I'm mad, but to a healer, that's normal. It's everyday stuff. To a psychic, if you practice it, you'll be amazed just how much it will help you to sort yourself out and find things. So psychometry is the dowsing tool with your hands and your whole body, actually. Now, if you're standing next to someone, as I said, or you're finding a chair, seat in the room, you're looking for where you can sit and your aura will not affect someone else or their aura won't affect you. We've talked about that. This is all psychometry. Now, if I took off this necklace I'm wearing and I gave it to you to hold, you would be psychometrizing this. And you would be saying, I feel Margaret from this thing in my hand, and you would be able to say, oh, Margaret didn't sleep well last night, or Margaret is writing a book or something. You would pick up whatever I put into this while I was wearing it. Okay, so when you think about, for example, your clothes, I'm going to use another example. Back in England, I used to work with the police, and I had murdered victims, and they gave me the clothes, okay, in a plastic bag, and I said, I need to take them out. And then there's evidence. I said, well, I need to put my hand on the actual material. And once I did, then I just put my fingertips on. I could see the victim. I could see what happened. I knew who killed her. And the information I gave to the police led to them actually catching the person and putting him in prison. So I did a lot of those kinds of things in England because that was the end thing. It's what people wanted, because they were stuck and they didn't know how to do it. And when I came over here, what was his name? I'm not pitching people, but there was I can't think of this. It'll come when I'm not trying to, because they don't want me pitching people or doing stuff. But there was a guy who was doing detective work, and he knew that I'd been doing detective work in England, so he asked me to work with him, and that was where I met a lot of people at psychic fairs and things like that who'd come and say, my so and so's missing. Can you tell me what state they're in, and things like that, finding objects and things. And so psychometry will allow you to dowse, find people, find their energy, find out what's wrong with their bodies and so on. And that's just a rough thing. I can't tell you everything about psychometry right now, but that's the main one. So when you pop out of your mum's womb, you feel mum. That's your first psychometry experience. If you have a nurse, for example, who's just had an argument with the doctor before they came in the room, the baby will cry because they feel that negative energy. They're feeling the world when we arrive, okay? And as we start to lay in mum's arms and people come and go and they all want to hold the baby, we're encompassed by all these people's auras. And if they're negative, we could be struck with, oh, I need to absorb that negativity, so I will use it as I get older. And I'll be negative, or I'll work with negative people. We don't know where you're going to go, but you're absorbing it. And you're like a sponge. Through psychometry, you're feeling all these people hold you and touch you, and as you learn to crawl and toddle and you touch other things, you're feeling the energy of all those things. And so by the time you go to school, 4 years old, that's when I went, I could feel everybody, and it was overwhelming. And if I hadn't had spirit guides telling me, you can imagine you're in a shower and let all that negativity wash away down the shower. And we didn't have showers, so it was the tub for me. Get in the water and just let go. Okay, so you can do that. You can allow yourself to dump the day's work when you do get in the shower, which are free to us all today. And if you're foreign parts, go in a lake, go in an ocean, go wherever you can. You know, you can feel those positive ions that hold all that negativity in psychometry. It's not there in the ocean. You know, it's you go there or up a mountain, you feel free, right? I had that experience. So that's psychometry. Now, the next skill that we have is clairvoyance. We look at people And when we look at them, we're scanning their face, their features and everything else. We look at their body language, the way they walk and talk and the sounds. And what we pick up is relative to associations with sound. And with visuals as well. We're going to sound in a minute, but they're both going on at the same time, assuming you have all your senses. But let's stay with vision for a moment. So let's say you look at my face and you think my nose reminds you of an auntie you had. Off you go in your visions, and next thing you know, you're remembering auntie, and she's saying ABC, and you've awakened to a memory that you need to apply to yourself. Or if you're doing a reading, then you'll take the auntie as a model and say to, say to your friend, okay, you know, you got someone in your life that's like my aunt, blah, 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 blah. And you would describe your aunt and they'd say, yeah, she's just like that. That's my uncle or something, but it's not different sex even. But you get the idea, you're comparing. What were you going to say, Theo? I don't know.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm one of those people that will watch body signals and watch how people react. And that was just something, you know, I grew up doing. When I do compare, I'll notice something on somebody and I'll bring back a memory. Another thing that brings back memories, like the other day, I totally forgot, like I grew up watching like Stephen King and all that stuff. And I came into my room, my roommate's watching a Stephen King movie. All of a sudden, it just reminded me like I was into all that stuff. And it reminded me of the fear I was raised up on, you know, because I was watching a lot of that too. And that didn't help the fear. And I realized that today, you know, I realized that a lot of that did mess with my psyche growing up.
Yeah, and it's a good job that you said that, because I want people to realize we absorb way easier than the positive. We absorb the negative. We suck in that negative like nobody's business through psychometry, because we're here to overcome that negativity. So we have to have it in order to realize that it doesn't make us happy, so that once we realize that we want to be happy, then we can go around and about whichever way we want to find that spirit self inside and develop our awareness that we can have a different point of view and be positive. So it's a good point that you put your hand up. And yes, we did have a tremendous amount of fear mongering going on. Even for me, all the space movies, because, you know, being aware of other lives and different things, I went through the suffocation thing, you know, some movie where the person's drifting in space and they're going to run out of air. And I went to bed that night and I'm like, and I had to work on myself, because I felt truly that somewhere in my life I had suffocated. Well, obviously, I don't know what it was, but one day my mum was telling me that as a newborn, they had a mask cradle thing that they put newborns in. And apparently you had to keep pumping the air into it, otherwise the baby would suffocate. But it was a way of protecting the baby from gases and things that the Germans were. And as my mum was telling me that, I went, that's why I got that. Because obviously she was pumping that air in, my body was responding to it in a negative way. So you see, we don't know all the things that happen to us as children, but our brain remembers. So cellular neuromuscular memory, very important to realize every cell in your body is coded with your negative experiences. On top of that comes the birth, when you dump it, of the positive experiences. So you store both, but we do focus on the negative more. So clairvoyance will bring up your negative energies. Psychometry will bring up your negative feelings. You put them together and you have a negative physical response. And then you blame and shame everybody around you for what's happening to you, because their auras are affecting you and reminding you in association of something you don't even remember you did years ago, like you said, watching a movie, because you've long moved on and forgotten. So yes, we do have to look back. And Ramona, this is a very important one for you, Spirit say, look back and see the growth and let go of the fears and the anxieties that are around you, in the people around you right now. Okay, so the next psychic sense is clairaudience, and you can hear that three ways. You can hear it as a thought form in your head. Let's say you think to yourself, I'm going to go to the store now. Just all do that. Say something to yourself. Now, you may have heard your own voice, or you may have not heard anything. You just knew the words. Okay. So when you're working with yourself, you have to learn to listen to your own voice and your own thoughts, and how you tell yourself, oh, I can't do that. You know, when you start to understand how you hear, then your spirit guides will start to use the same methods. So when I was young, I would be sitting, thinking, reading a book or something, and all of a sudden I would hear my own voice coming in my head, like, go and help your mother. I'm like, what? Because then I go into the kitchen, there's mum crying or something, and so I'd make sense of it. So proof of the pudding was finding the thoughts, going immediately to see things are happening for me. But it doesn't always happen for people like that. Sometimes people are just musing with a word. It could be water, for example. And you think, well, does that mean I go swimming? Does that mean I need to drink water? Does that mean someone else needs water? You just don't know where to place it. But given time, when you study yourself, you start to understand, oh, this is a message for me, or this is a message for someone else. Okay. Now, here's an example that I did with my mother, again, not to her, but said to her. I used to read a lot. And so I was reading, and apparently, according to my mother, she came in the room, and I looked up and I said to her, there's going to be a death in the family, and then went back to reading. Okay. And she said, Margaret, what did you say? I said, well, I didn't say anything. She said, yes, you did. You just said something. So I said, what did I say? She said, somebody's going to die. She turned the words around in her way. And I looked at her and I said, oh, yeah. And I went back to reading again. Now, that is like a subliminal quick message that we get in our mind. You get those. And you speak them out, and you don't think about it, and you move on. So, for example, you might be getting out of the car and you suddenly say, without thinking, I think I need an ice cream. But by the time you get to the mall, you've forgotten you even told yourself you wanted to eat an ice cream, because you get into the doing of whatever you're doing in the mall. And then you get home and you went, oh, I never got that ice cream. Well, your psychic sense of clairaudience can be like that, where you give yourself a subliminal message, and immediately your conscious mind comes over the top and gives you your priorities, and you lose that subliminal thought that's coming from all the way back here, that's telling you you need something for yourself. So you're learning through yourself at first, but as you get used to listening to that sudden thought that comes and goes so quickly, you start to catch it and pay more attention to it. And what I used to do is write it down, scribble it down in my child book, exercise book in school or something. I always remember this particular one. I was about 16, and I was in a class that I didn't want to be in for typing, and we had to type all these things on these old-fashioned, real thundering kind of heavy, hard-hitting 1930s typewriters. So we're copying something in a book and doing this and all the time, and I didn't even know I was doing it. So I'm typing away and I'm typing this book, and I look back and I typed a whole sentence. Tell Miss Cass that she needs to take care of herself. It was typed subliminally by my spirit guides. So you can find yourself writing, automatic writing, without even remembering you've written it. Your spirit guides can come in and stimulate this deep subconscious part of yourself to anatomically, physically do something. And then you'll say, I don't remember doing that. It's like a trance state, but you're not in trance. It's that the subconscious has gotten all the way through into what you're doing anatomically, where you don't think. And typing is something you don't think, because you learn where all the letters are and you just type, right? The same as you don't think, how do I spell class? You just type it, right? Because you've all learned to type. But if you were just learning, you'd be focused on CLASS, you know, then you can't get that message from the deep subconscious, because your conscious mind is in control. But as soon as you've got a habit or a routine where you don't have to pay attention to your conscious mind, like driving your car, off you go into the images, and off you go into your subconscious and deep subconscious, in other words, and then you got yourself a little message, and maybe you catch it, and it wakes you up all of a sudden. What did I see that? What did I hear that? Okay, now once you get used to realizing that you're listening to different parts of your own brain, then with practice working with your spirit guides, you learn to hear their voices. Now, when they speak to you, they will use your voice to start off with, or they'll use someone else you're familiar with. For example, I was in this house not too long ago, about 2 years ago. My husband was still alive but sick, and I was in here doing something, and I was focused on I was healing someone, and I heard my father calling me from the other room. Now, I knew he'd passed 2 years before that, and because I was in a healing state and I was just focused on my patient, I was able to hear it because I wasn't consciously thinking. I was in my psyche. So you can hear a spirit voice in another room. Why do they do that? Because they don't want to frighten you. I mean, if my dad just turned up and stood here and said in my ear right away, I would be like, what? It would stop me from doing what I was doing, right? So you have to allow yourself to know that they'll use distance at first, so you get used to it. Now, when I was about 24, I was in a physical phenomenon circle. They'd been sitting for 6 months and nothing had happened. And I sat there and everything happened. I'm not blowing my trumpet. I'm just saying spirit were ready, and that was what they wanted. And Sister Teresa, who I'd heard in my head all the time, suddenly spoke right in this ear and said, Margaret, now is the time. And I went, she shocked me into trance. Now, I want you to think about that, okay? When somebody overwhelms you, your brain quits and you go, oh, and you just suddenly feel tired, or you just don't want to deal with it. Well, spirit will also surprise you with a shock sound that will put you into that la-la space where they can get more information, okay? Another way is automatic writing, when you can't hear them, but you just know and you just keep writing. That's how I do all my books, by the way. I'm so knowledgeable when I'm writing the books. I keep saying to Katie, I have to go back and read them all because I can't remember what's in them, okay? But the bottom line is that's all part of the clairaudience. It's channeling, writing, talking words. You know, you're just sitting there looking at someone, you're feeling this energy, and all of a sudden you just know you want to say to them, don't worry, your car will be fine. You just take it down to the mechanic. It's only a little something. It's not going to cost you a fortune. Then you say, how did I know that? It's just in your brain. See, the spirit guides don't have to hear or speak to you. They can just put the wisdom, the knowledge in images from the back, something you know about cars, use it, bring it forward and out through your mouth, okay? And that is all part of clairaudience. Yeah, what do you want to say?
What happens like late at night, and it's really getting irritating? It's like a bunch of conversation, you know, and it's audible, and it's, you know, sometimes music is there like a people are in a place where there's music being playing and they're talking, and I can't shut it off. And it's not like I'm hearing voices, you know, like
No.
schizophrenia or anything. It's like at night or from anything that has energy.
I know what you're
Like-
saying, and I'm going to cut you short because I know everybody else wants to hear what you're saying, but I'll run out of time if I have too much.
Yeah,
But
tell me.
but I will tell you, it's your tape recorder. Everything that you've ever heard, seen, is recorded in this brain. Okay, your brain works faster than the speed of light, which is 286,000 miles per second, and it's fastest. Don't ask me how science tested it, but they did, and they have proved that it is that half again fast. And now they're even knowing how sound travels, which is going to be our next energy in the future. Sound travels, where we come to a point where you speed up so much that you actually don't know time and you move on. And in that moment, you can know everything. That's what we can do as psychics. You can run the memories of everything that you've ever heard, seen, felt, the thought. Why would you do that? Because you're trying to tell yourself, you know more than you know consciously here. You're trying to tell yourself, I need to trust this back here. You're also trying to tell yourself, as I said to you earlier on, your spirit guides want you to understand that your negative energies and your chakras need to be rebalanced because you're open so much that you're not letting the lessons be fully understood. So, you know, maybe we want to do a bit of counseling with you later privately or something when you're ready, you know. But the bottom line is that I've done that many years ago when I was in my second marriage and he was drunk and this and that and so on. And I would just lie there at night hearing all these conversations that I didn't even remember I'd had. But when I went into them and really listened, I was hearing, don't do this. Think differently, be differently. You know, so if you're lying awake and it's keeping you awake, try and go behind it or through it and see what the message is that you're trying to tell yourself by running the memory tapes, because that's what you're doing. However, I will say on the other side of the fence that when you're doing readings, those memory tapes are useful because that's where your knowledge and wisdom is of your experiences that you're going to pull upon to tell someone else how to be and how to behave. Does that make sense to you, Rie? Can you hear me, Rie? Can you understand me? Yeah. Does it make sense to you? You understand what I'm saying about, because she's Japanese. So you understand? Wakarimasu? So to say, okay. All right. So coming back now to, we've done clairvoyance, we've done psychometry, and we've got clairaudience. The last is clairsentience, which combines smell and taste. As you know, when we find Prince Charming or Princess, we have the pheromone, is that the right word? I can never say it right. The smell of that person. And, you know, if someone dies or leaves you, you get that, smell their sweater or something and bring back memories and start crying, you know. Yes, Katie?
Pheromones, my dear.
Pheromone, thank you. She's there for me. I always forget my words. And so, you know, there are so many different ones around the world, from the dogs, the cats, the tortoise, turtle. I can't say both words at the same time. Spirit's saying even the sea, the animals in the sea, everything smells, okay? And even the fish that are swimming around, you don't think of them as smelling, but you look, they've got nostrils, they've got little holes, that everything is smelling. And smelling is a biochemical response in the brain that stimulates the entire body on the electromagnetic field energy to harmonize with the earth, the people on it, and anything growing on the earth. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, you can go and smell a rose, or you can smell some poop. And either way, it's going to conjure up something in you to have some ideomotor response of I like it or I don't like it. I know what to do, I don't know what to do. Okay. Now, what does that help us do? It makes us look at our fear, our pain, our anger, our guilt, and our loss. And I'm going to do some talks on those things as well, but not today. And so, you know, we all grow up and go out into the world, and the first thing that upsets us is, he took my toy away. Okay, loss. Okay, the next thing that upsets us is, she hit me or he hit me, pain. Okay, the next thing that upsets us, you know, so we're talking about the different ways that we correlate them. So now we've been hurt and we've lost something. We have the fear that it'll happen again. Habits, routines. So we learn repeating makes us afraid, and we're waiting for the next thing that's going to make us afraid. So we all walk on this earth in fear. So fear, pain, anger. We get anger. Oh, do I have to deal with more fear? Do I have to deal with more pain? People hitting me, or, you know, pain can be leaving me and breaking my heart and soul, you know. So I'm afraid that more is going to happen. So we're getting intense now with fear, pain, anger. And now, oh, maybe I was stupid. Maybe I should have done it differently. Now I feel guilty because I didn't think it through. I hurt myself by being involved in that situation, or I trusted them and they hurt me, and you know. So we get this guilt, you know, about where we are, who we're with, what we're doing, whether we're doing it right or wrong. It's judgment. Okay. And so fear, pain, anger, and guilt, we're going to do this. We're going to set up a time when we're going to do a talk on that as well. But the whole thing about smell and taste is that when we're going through those negative emotions, we are on the look for the smell and we're on the look for the taste. Now, if you put food in your mouth, and again, I'll give you an example, very brief visit of going in Japan. We were going late night, Mama and Papa's store, and as I walked in the door, my psychometry, my feeling said, this is not a healthy shop. But it was 10:30 at night and everywhere else is shut nearby. So I and my interpreter decided to eat there. I got home and I threw up. The food, she didn't throw up, she was fine. The bowl, the food was good because piping hot soup and stuff, Japanese really salty. But while I was talking to her, I had an egg and I had it in my chopstick and I dropped it on the table. And without thinking, I picked it up and ate it off a dirty table. And that made me throw up. So there are germs all over this world. And if we use psychometry combined with smell and taste, we know if something is poisonous. Going back to the beginning, I talked about the mushrooms. How do you think the first humans knew mushrooms were poison, and some were psychedelic and some were healthy? By smelling and putting to the mouth, just here on lips. Does this feel right? And your instinct, your intuition, your whole brain will go, no, or yeah, because it knows the vibration of something that is in harmony with you. So a mushroom has its own vibration. And if its vibration is the same as your vibration, you go together, it's good for you. But if it's going like this and you're going like this, I can do this at the same time, it doesn't fit. You know, don't eat that. Now, right now, we get all sorts of augmented foods and medicines. And I'm telling you, put it there, just on your lip, and wait and see if you feel I should have this or not. And you will be amazed how immediately, instinctively, you will know. Now, let's go back so I can prove the pudding to you, literally. Here's baby being weaned off milk. And some things mother puts in the mouth and, oh God. Other times, like peas is a very common one. Put peas in the baby, all runs down here. not swallowing it, scoop it up, put it back in, once down. It's telling you, no, I don't want peas. I don't like peas. They don't suit my digestive system. So next time, Katie laughing, she remembers those days. So the next thing that we have to think about is when you get medicines from the doctor, you know, put that on your lip and ask yourself, you know, is this what I want? And the same with the virus and all the things that are going on. There's thousands of viruses out there. And, you know, whether you want an injection for something or other, no matter what it is, from baby illnesses to whatever, if you even write the word and put it on your lip, it has a vibration. So if say it was carrot, you have no carrots in the house, just get the carrot word on a piece of paper, put it right there, and then watch your body with psychometry. And if you start shuddering or feeling cold or having an uncomfortable feeling, or your mind just goes, no, don't eat the carrot. See what I'm saying? So your psychometry tells you what is good for you to eat and what isn't. And the clairsentience, smell and taste, is what draws you to test yourself to see if it's something you like. Now, we all love ice cream, right? I met someone recently who said, I hate ice cream. and I said, why do you hate it? She said, well, when I was young, and it reminded me of my sister, so I'm going to switch over, but she said, when I was young, I hated it was so cold. And I went back to my sister, and I remembered my sister was about 2 years old, and we got this tiny little cone for kids. And I was buying it off one of the buses that come around and sell it, you know, and I was old enough to get one for me and her. So I gave her hers, and she was like big eyes, and she really wanted it. And as she went to put it into her mouth, she wasn't correlating her movements very well. It went into her cheek, which of course was freezing cold, and she immediately dropped it, and it went on the floor, and she cried. So what did good sister do? Gave her mine. But I learned just by that I took it with her hand and guided it to her mouth and let her lick it. And what did she do? She went, because it was cold still. Okay, and years went by, and I forgot all about it. And I went over and I said, I'm getting some ice cream from the store. And she went, no, don't get me any ice cream. It upsets my teeth. I don't like it. And I went, oh, I didn't tell her even. It was too long ago. She was not always open to what I say sometimes. So, but I saw it. I saw the program, you see, all that time ago, because she would never remember that event. She was only 2, and the memory isn't conscious here in that age. So I want you to understand that you're going to have clairsentient feelings about smell and taste. And it's like you'll say out loud, I shouldn't be eating this, but I love it anyway. But you need to stop and then say, is this good for my digestive system? And feel your tummy may suddenly cramp, or your back may spasm, or your arm may, you don't know where you've put the memory, but your arm may suddenly ache, you know. Well, I've done years and years of deleting my program because I developed Parkinson's disease when I was 35. And as a result of also clinical death, I was able to come back and deprogram myself over years. It took me 20 years to deprogram myself of my mum and my dad and my ancestors, and I did everything, my sons, my husbands, just dumping everybody. And people say to me, and I'm not bragging or looking for a thing, but they say to me, I can't believe you're 79. And I don't act like I'm 79 because I dumped all that history. I don't age the way other people age because it's the history that makes us age. For example, when you were 3 and running around, and grandma comes in with little tight white curls, which was the way back in those days, You look at them and you go, okay, 65, she's just died, that's old. Now we're living to be 110, you know, so why would we want to look old? You know, and we can fix our hair, like me, and, you know, and look pretty, so, and look handsome or whatever it is. So why would we want to run around with a mindset that says I'm going to drop dead when I'm 65 because my grandma did? Okay, we have to deprogram ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually from the aura, from every part of our muscles and body. Get rid of it and use these psychic senses that I've taught you about today in meditation, watching yourself have ab reactions or good reaction. If it's an ab reaction, it's something you got to dump from your body on a cellular level, and that will go into your emotions and into your mind. If you're like me, you could be in meditation for hours. But most people, they're lucky if they can do 10 minutes before their brain starts saying, well, I've been lying here for 10 minutes and I haven't heard anything yet and haven't seen. Well, this has to go to sleep. So it's better you go to sleep and dream, okay, rather than try and do it with a conscious mind. But if you've got hypnosis, and loads of people are making them for free right now, including me. So if you want some hypnosis, free ones, Katie has them, and she can send them to you, okay, or you can download them. I'm not sure, we're still doing all the sites, you know, it takes so long, and I know nothing, I'm not technical, so I'm relying a lot on Katie to help, and everything that we're doing, you know, it takes time, and she's burdened with a lot, poor thing. But I so appreciate her, and I hope you do too, that she's able to help me do this so that I can teach you guys what I know. Now, so we've talked about the aura, we talked about the energy, we talked about the DNA, we talked about the RNA, we talked about the 5 senses of psychic ability. I'm not going to go into your skills and talents, because what I want to do with that eventually is have practical ones where you can actually hold something and do something. But we got to figure out how we're going to pair people up and read one another and stuff in the future. But at least you started, and I'm going to leave you with a book, which I want you to come back one day when we get it organized. It's called Expanding Images with the Omni Card. And everything about the psychic skills, she's again, thank you, darling. The psychometry, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the clairsentience, the oneness, the psychic stuff is all in the beginning of that book. And then what we're going to work with, that I'm going to do in the next workshop, this picture you can see of the Omni card is in the book. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you just that picture for the next class that we'll do, where you'll be able to download that picture, take it over to Staples or somewhere like that, and have them print it on card and laminate it, so that you're going to be able to work with that and read one another. But if you want, and that's the bigger one that we're going to send you. I drew that was channeled with spirit in my late 20s. I had to wait all the years for color copies to come up before I could get that for you. But anyway, I taught in Japan that class with that card for years because I didn't have that book. And I can tell you that in Japan, my students, because they're very timid back in those days, we're talking 1986 through 90s, I would say, who's psychic? And maybe one person would go like this, Japanese do this. And at the end of the class, one day only, working with that card, I'd say, who's psychic? And they'd all put their hands up like this, whole class. And I had 40, 50 people in the class in those days. So I want you to realize that everyone is psychic, everyone, okay? And that you just have to believe in yourself and trust yourself and use it. And day by day in your everyday life, as you walk around town, go in the malls, do whatever, you learn to close down. So the last thing I want to do, and I don't know how long I haven't been watching time, is I want to teach you to close down. So normally I would be standing up, but you have to use your imagination. So your crown chakra is open right now because you're listening to me. It's like a fan, like you know, the halo. In your mind, you're going to push it up, and you can do this physically because this teaches your brain. Okay, so push it up, and in your mind, visualize a cup on top of your head. Now you can see I'm bending down. We don't want the fingers together. We want to leave them a little bit open because this leaves room for your spirit guides, God, energy, divine truth to come into your brain at the back so that you can get the psychic information. Okay, so if you're going in the mall, you visualize, do this in the car before you even get out, push it up and say close. Okay, for your third eye, you frown. Hold it, say close. Say it out loud, close. Your brain has to hear it through your ears, okay, clear audience, okay? Otherwise, if you just say it subliminally, it's gone, it's lost. So you say, always close out loud. For your throat, you swallow. 3-4 times, some people need 10 times because they speak so much about rubbish and negativity, okay? And you know, they drive people insane with everything's wrong and I just want to die and you know, those kind of people need to swallow and swallow and swallow and keep saying close throat chakra, so they don't talk so much. Okay, I talk a lot because I'm teaching. Okay, heart chakra is where you know, if you see your nipples, male or female, you draw a line to the middle. That's where your heart, center of your heart chakra is. Okay, and so for that, you're using breath. You breathe in, hold it, and then as you breathe out, you say, close. Okay, let's all do that. Close. I don't see anyone doing the O's. You got to say it out loud, otherwise your brain is never going to do it. Okay. And so even if you've got 100 people in the room, you don't have to say it real loud. You could do like under your breath, you know, but you must hear it. Okay. Now for your solar plexus, you pull your abs in. It's like you're working out. Just pull them in and hold them. You can feel the tension, yes? Yes, shake your head if you feel the tension. Okay. Cool. You could hold it all day. Like if I'll stand up so you can see mine. I'll do sideways. Hang on. All right. So it's my stomach. Okay. See, I'm pulling in. So I'm pulling muscles here and here. Okay. So I'm saying close out loud. I got it put relax. Okay. Now, down here, private parts, squeeze them together. Like this, just squeeze tight, close, say close out loud, right? Spleen chakra, left rear, right, make circles. Can you see? Yeah, can you see? You can go either way. The reason you're doing that, it doesn't matter whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise, is in the spleen chakra are 2 cones. One from your lower self to your higher self, and one from your higher self to your lower self. Ascension, giving your negative and receiving light. So this is going on all the time in the middle, in your solar plexus. Okay. That makes sense? You understand, everybody? Okay, have we got much more time for questions now?
Just out of curiosity, Margaret, because I know that we have a guy in here, but for Guy, all of us women know how to do pelvic floor, obviously, to close down the pelvic chakra, but we have a guy in the room. For guys who don't know how to close down the pelvic chakra, I know it's a little bit awkward, but how do we do that?
It's the same, they have the muscles exactly the same down there. Right? You have the same muscles down there. You can pull your back and front together. Tighten your muscles up. You can feel it, yeah? Yeah, see?
I wasn't trying to make a point of it. I'm just saying that us women know how to do all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know, but men do it as well because they have to, in the sexual act, move those muscles.
I'm trying to pick on you.
I'm not embarrassed, I'm hot. It's about, I've got my heating at 83. I forgot to turn it down. Okay, so any questions now about what I've been talking about? Did I explain it well enough? Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
good. And do you feel now that you can protect yourself when you go out? I really want you to think about those chakras and closing down, okay? Because it's very important, and you will be amazed how you'll get home, you won't feel so tired, you know. Even when I'm doing like a public event, you know, like when I'm got a room full of people, I only open up these, okay? I don't open up my whole body to the audience because there's too many people in that room, and I don't want to go home with all their energy in my aura, do I? Okay. And if you're a healer, like Kim has joined us, hi Kim. If she's a great healer, she's Reiki and she knows a lot of stuff. Okay. Even if she's working on someone, she has to know to close down before she leaves that patient. Otherwise, she's going to take home that person's energy that she's taken out. And she also knows through Reiki that she has to clear the room before the next person comes in, right? So you know, she's a very good healer, and she teaches all this stuff. But even so, there's still a great deal of stuff that we need to learn about our psychic ability. And unfortunately, back in the days when I was young, there wasn't anybody teaching anything other than mediumship. You know, I remember, thanks to Spirit again, I was at the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain. I was 16. I'd gone there to check it out because Spirit has said. And while we were there, after there was a demonstration of messages, and after we were there, the medium said she was going to do healing. And for some unknown reason, she said she wanted to heal me. Well, I know now that I was a mess because my parents were a mess and so on. So anyway, she sat me down and she did all these chakras. Now, I didn't know that stuff then. She was my teacher. And then she came to this spleen chakra that I've just showed with you. And she whispered right in my ear, never forget the spleen chakra. Well, I never forgot it. I went home, talked to Spirit, what is it? And they explained it. And over the years, as I evolved more and more, I never saw that woman again. I went back because I wanted to ask her more. She'd left and gone somewhere else in the town, and that was the end of it. You see, I want you to understand there are going to be people that come into your life and they'll give you a message, and it's important. Write it down in case you forget. But somewhere, work on it. Keep working on it, because your spirit guides will, through your psychometry, give you a sense of feeling about it. They give you a sense of hearing with your clairaudience or a thought form or something like that. Write things down. They write through you. In some way, they'll give you messages. And whatever you're getting, put a date on it, because some of those things, I mean, looking back through my life, I wrote stuff down, as I said, in the 70s, that's coming true now. Because the oneness, there is no history. It's now. Everything is now. You can't imagine knowing everything at one given point, can you? You can't imagine that. But in our spirit consciousness, we can. When we're not in a body, we're not between lives, and we're just in the oneness, we know everything. But again, you have the choice as to where you want to use it and how you want to use it. There is always choice. In fact, I just did a show that Katie put up on choice on an earthly level. But there is, as below, so above. There is no difference in the way the universe uses energy. And it's up to you to choose to use it, whether you want to heal it, heal yourself, heal other people. And when I say heal it, the oneness, because it's constantly at war with itself, because that's how it continues. If it was all positive, it would be stagnant. If it was all negative, doing it the other way, it would be stagnant, right? See how hot my hands are red right now? That's because I'm channeling, I'm talking to you, but you don't hear those guys, you don't see those guys. You hear my personality and character, but every way that I'm talking, they're with me, making sure I cover everything so that you will get what you need to hear. So is there any questions? Am I that good? No, they're good.
I mean,
So
like, sorry,
just go ahead.
but yeah, like, so, you know, there's some people I run into, and I'll get like this negative energy off of them. I don't know if it's mine sometimes, or if I'm reading them wrong, or, you know, because sometimes like they come with like problems around me. Of course, I got my own problems I'm working on. I'm working on healing myself at the moment with all the trauma and everything. And so sometimes I don't know if I confuse it with my own energy with them, or it's their energy.
Well, you know, I'm calling you Theo because I know you like Ted, but I just, they're doing that because Spirit Guides is saying part of your thing is to get your identity difference. That's why they're using the name rather than short version. But the bottom line here is that you are who you want to be. And if you're good in your skin and someone comes along and disturbs that skin feeling, then you know you're being interfered with by their aura. If, however, it's on the other side, you're not feeling good in your skin, you get out of bed and you feel yucky and so on in some way, and then know that you're affecting other people. There's
Okay.
no blame or shame here. It just is the way of life. So the ultimate thing is if you're balanced emotionally, mentally, and physically, because yes, you've been through a roller coaster. I won't bring a washing out in public, but I do know what it is because they're telling me. It's very hard to find your manhood and your strength and your power when you've had it taken away. You know, and losing yourself in different equipments and things, you know, supported that fear. Well, now you're building yourself up. And of course, the one thing that you're going to let go of is that belief system that you are in fear. And understand that you are, she hasn't talked to me, you know, and understand, I'm listening to Spirit, and understand that fear is a creative belief system in building an emotion to keep it going, to rationalize an excuse to stay away. But ultimately, when you realize you embrace that fear, you realize you're opening a door to explore, then there's a whole different thing. It's excitement. This is new. This is an opportunity to find a different pathway. Okay. When I was a medium in England, you know, everybody was clamoring for readings, and you know, it's like, oh, I was 1,001 people. I lost me. I was a bit of everybody. I wasn't cutting the etheric ribbons. Now that's a whole nother class, but we make etheric ribbons with everyone we meet from the moment we're born to the moment we die. I cut the etheric ribbons between my family, friends, and people once a year. Because what you do is you play the same game along the ribbon. So let's say a child has never cut the ribbon from mother, then the child will still respond like a child to the mother, and the mother will still respond as a mother to the child. Next thing you know, they're arguing. Mom, stop telling me what to do. The child's coming back, Mom, I need you to understand me. Why aren't you asking me questions about my work or something? And here's the arguments. Cut that ribbon. You can't play that game anymore. We're not mother and child anymore. Now we can make a new ribbon as adults. It's one of the common ones that we talk about. Okay. And when you feel you're equal to, you know, because it doesn't matter whether you're 20 with a 70-year-old, you're two women together now. You're not a child and a mother, you know. And Katie brought this up earlier on. We were talking beforehand that somebody just said something about that. And cutting ribbons is very important. And, you know, for my kids, because 3 of them are in England anyway, I will say to my kids, who are you today? Because I haven't seen them in years, because I haven't been able to go over to England, because you know why. But the bottom line is that they've got their lives, they're doing their things. I don't know their friends are influencing them. That's in their RNA. They're definitely not the kids I brought up. So why would I want to talk to them about stuff? I mean, when I was coming out of my misery guts period, I actually made all my kids' recordings. I thought I was doing good at the time, I might add, that this is what I was going through, and I don't want you to copy me. So please don't ever copy me, was a message generally. And I went through all the details. Only one kid listened to it. The rest, I don't want to know. What they were teaching me even back then, hey, I'm not a kid anymore, you know. And so I learned from my own kids. We have to learn from our kids. We have to learn from our friends and so on. Whoever is around, they're going to test us, show us what to do or what not to do. And it's up to us to have an open mind and definitely an open spirit, so that you can tell whether it feels right or it feels wrong. Every which way. Your psychometry is the first thing you use when you got born, and it's the first thing you will use every time you go somewhere, do something. You're feeling out the around energy in yourself and how people affect you. And if you don't feel comfortable and you've got to stay, close those chakras. You'll be okay. Just keep your third eye, and you know, look around, see what you're seeing, see what you could learn, you know, what you could do with them later or something, and walk away. When you're ready, you'll come back. If you're not ready, you'll never come back, or they won't come back. So, okay, nothing lost. Does that make sense? Any other questions? You got any questions, Kim, or want to say anything? Okay. Thank you for coming. I know you were busy. Yeah. Anyone else? Well, maybe it's time we ended then. I don't know how long we've been talking. I'm not clock watching. Let me see.
2 hours.
Okay, that's not bad then. Okay, I got it done. So I want to say thank you for coming. And one last thing I'd like to ask, what are you interested in you'd like to learn next that I could do a talk on? If you don't know now, you can go to Easy Peasy Solutions. Katie will take over in a minute and tell a few things. And leave what you are interested in, because supply and demand. I obviously don't want to start talking about something that nobody's interested in. Okay, so what do you want to say, Katie?
And we'll probably do these classes on Sundays, because obviously it is the weekend and it's wind down in the afternoon. Obviously, everybody can't come in at the same time, because we know that people can run late because of obligations that they have with their families and friends and life in general. But we do have an email address that you can email us on sumarisucc@gmail.com. If you are unable to voice out what you would like to hear on the next class that we do, by all means email us, or you can get in contact with either me or Margaret via social media. We are everywhere. You just have to search for our name. If you are not connected with us, please connect with us, and we can go from there. But outside of that, there'll be plenty of stuff that you can see. Margaret, like I said, she just put up a new archive at Dr. Margaret. So go if you go to SoundCloud or my YouTube channel at Soma Fusion Mind, Body and Soul, you're going to see the archive up there under the playlist of Soma Fusion Academy and Samaris Education Center. You'll see that video. If you are on social media, it'll be up there posted as well. But like I said, there'll be plenty of stuff that you can get a hold of. There's plenty of information up in the easypeasysolutions.org. We are in the process of obviously upgrading a few things and tweaking a few things, so there will be stuff there to get. If you go over into the chat on Zoom and enter in your email, I can give you a workbook. Is that right, Margaret?
a workbook and a hypnosis. We said we give them the what was it, the one on relaxation and going back to your childhood and dumping your history, the boys and girls one. Yeah.
If you email us later and just let us know you've been in this class, we can send you that. If not, just leave your email in the chat here on Zoom before you exit out, and we can send that to you there as well.
And the other thing is, when you said Sundays, not every Sunday, obviously we all have things that we do. So we're thinking every other Sunday, because, you know, but how's the time? You know, was 2 convenient, or, you know, because that's something else we need to know. Does anybody think 2 was too early or too late or anything? No, you all agree?
It was perfect. It was perfect.
Good, thank you. All right, so we'll keep it
Yeah,
at
this
2.
is the perfect time. This is the perfect time because between 2 and 4, I don't have anything going on. Of
Okay.
course, I'm Pacific time, so.
Yeah. But, you know, Katie's not, she's 3 hours away.
Right.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, Margaret's in Lake Havasu City, so she ain't far away from you.
No,
Yeah.
I live in Phoenix.
Yeah, all right. So one of the things that I also have here in my home is I have a teaching room, and you're meeting Kim here, and Kim is going to work, she's working on doing a Reiki class, and she'll be working with Katie. So Katie, you're meeting Kim now for the first time I've been talking about. And so she's going to be teaching laying of hands and Reiki and stuff like that, and she's got some other things she's working on. So you know, you might want to do a Sunday when I'm not doing a Sunday. See what I mean? We have to work out how we're going to share stuff. So that's something to look forward to in the future. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret and I are not the only 2 teachers here, so we actually do have a few more coming on. They'll be different. You'll be hearing from different people each time we have a class like this.
Yeah, because the whole idea behind this is, as I said earlier on, I was a very small child when I went to school the first time. They told me, one day when you grow up, you're going to have a school. And as I evolved, the school became a university to now. But I went through college and, you know, whatever words I could use as I evolved. And now I want to do the university, but obviously I can't, although I could teach a wealth of things, I can't be doing that online all the time. So other people want to share and teach. That's what we want to do. We want to build it so that there's always something. And recording, as I did, I hope it's still recording. I recorded all this, so it'll be out there for people who couldn't make it, because this is free. And we will do a lot of meetings like this, and I'm going to do some talks on families and things like that as well. So we've got a lot of things that we're going to do that will be there for people to come up, that are pre-recorded, we've done them live, and then we put them up for people to access and still listen to people and learn. But given time, when we get enough students, yeah, we want to charge, but we're not going to charge an arm and a leg like people do. You know, come to this class, $35, and then do this, and then it's $3,000. No, we're not doing that. You're going to be like going to a MCC college or somewhere like that. You're just paying those kinds of prices. And I'm currently still haven't done that, Kim, called them up yet and followed through, because once I get their backing behind here, then we can open up the house here, and we'll have some classes here in Havasu for those who live locally. So that's something to look forward to. And given time that we really evolve and get things going, yeah, we're not too far from Las Vegas, and we can rent rooms there, and we can have hands-on workshops and things. So I'm thinking big, but we need a team. So anyone you know who wants to join us and help us, whether it's tech or, you know, whether it's they're just one of the students or they want to teach something, Word of mouth is the best form of advertising right now, right? So tell people that where we're at and what we're doing. I appreciate that if you would, and share whenever you can online or whatever. The more people know what we're trying to do, then the more likely we're going to find some good teachers too, and have something going on for everyone all the time. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So I want to thank you all for coming. And Katie, you'll wind up. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Yoshizaki, are they English speaking or Japanese?
Yes, Lisa Yoshizaki, she's my friend, joining from Okinawa.
Does she speak English?
She does, yes. Lisa, you.
Oh, yes, I know. She had a reading. Hi. Wakarimasu. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So you not here at the beginning. So she will be able to hear the recording, right?
Yes.
So Katie will post the recording. So you
Yes.
can, yes, okay.
Thank you very much.
Have Reese's email?
Email desu ka?
Email, please. Should I post my email address to chat? Or-
Yes, yes, so this.
Thank you very much.
Hi. So, hi. So you can do, Ria, I may have yours, but you can post anyone, you can post your email, and then Katie has it. She'll know exactly what to do. Right? She's a whiz kid, not me. She's very, very psychic and very, very good counselor. Very, very, very trained. And I tested her and I gave her diplomas. So, if you study with me one day, you can have your certificates and your diplomas. So this was just an intro talk on psychic development. When you're ready, we can start to do a regular course on psychic development. So you really learn it. This is just introduction.
For those who know me, I have a doctorate in psychology, so a lot of my courses and talks will be a lot consciousness and universal consciousness from a metaphysics point of view, as well as a psychological point of view, and as well as incorporating that into basic psychiatry and psychology itself. I'm a little bit more academic in the way that I talk, so it can be very, very heavy. I haven't learned how to be human, apparently.
No, she's very human. She's the generation that I have a hard time with. Like everything is ABC and XYZ and 1, 2, 3, and I haven't a clue what she's talking about. Give them an example.
My example?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, she's dried up now because I put her on the spot. But yeah, she like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, she has a load of words like that where she shortens them all and I'm going, what are you talking about?
We're supposed to. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but like Rie and Yoshi, she wouldn't understand that because it's Japanese. So you'd have to say the full word, right?
Yeah, but the full word can be very, very sophisticated English.
Mm. Well, Yoshizaki, it is her last name. Risa is her first name because they do it back to front. So I'm saying that so you know, and Risa would not understand short versions, so we have to speak all the words for her. Okay. So if that happens, so we may have Mexican people, Italian people, who knows? I hope in time we will have many people who speak different languages from different countries come to this site. So share wherever you can, as long as they speak English. So otherwise they won't understand it. But in time, maybe somebody who comes, say, speaks Spanish, can teach a class in Spanish. Yeah, so we're not limited. It's all a question of sharing, right? Okay, so I best let you all go home. And well, you are home, but go and do your thing. All right. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Margaret.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Great day.
Okay. So I stop, pause.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Margaret.
I'm stopping pause, I think.